There's a good chance the scammers have already targeted you with a phone message like this.
The revenue agency filed a lawsuit against your name.
They pretend you owe the Canada Revenue Agency thousands of dollars, and if you don't pay up, you'll be arrested.
This is a felony, and a conviction can carry a sentence of up to 5 years.
It's all complete nonsense. But those aggressive voices on the other end of the phone are good at catching people off guard and scaring them into paying, like this man who gave more than $30,000.
There's a warrant out for me that I owe money, and they're going to send me to jail.
Examples of Canadians who were duped and forked over their money have been appearing in the news for months. But it's investigative journalists who can take the time to look deeper and find out who is behind it.
Are you in Mumbai or are you in Pune?
Yes.
You're in one of them?
Yes.
That's what our colleagues at CBC News Marketplace have done, tracking down the people on the other end of the phone in India. So how did they find them?
We know these people are dangerous. We also know this area can be dangerous. And so we're working with some local Indian journalists to help us get inside.
And what happened when they did? David Common and Nelisha Vellani have been working together on this story for Marketplace.
Okay, so lots of ground to cover here with you two. So let's begin, David, with the how. How did you figure out where the calls were coming from? Because they could have been, a block away.
Could have been a block away, could have been halfway around the world. But what we knew is that there had been a scam like this operating in India before. And so that raised our suspicions. Maybe we should be looking in that country. But really it began calling back from those robocalls. Calling them back and trying to engage in a conversation. The key, of course, is understanding
the language.
You got it.
And that's what I understood. I understood Hindi. So we called back, we talked to maybe 100 different people and asked them really where they were calling from. When we spoke to them in Hindi, they let their guard down and gave us little tidbits, general areas where they were calling from. And we also talked to former call center employees who helped us find active, like scam centers, as we call them.
And you're saying centers, so it was more than one place. It's not just one place in India that's driving all these calls to Canada.
Yeah, and what we had learned that they had gone from sort of 300-person operations at one point in time to much smaller ones, like a dozen people and mobile. So they may well move every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks to a new location, pick up all their technology, move it somewhere else, change their phone numbers, everything that you could use to track them. They were alternating it so that people like us couldn't track them down.
Okay, so you get some information, you have some locations. What do you do with that?
So with that, we wanted to get an understanding of what was going on there. And it was through talking to people on the phone, through these local journalists and others who had worked inside this industry essentially before. They were able to bring us inside. And in fact, one individual went inside a call center for us. The challenge was he got found out. He was wearing a hidden camera. They saw it and they attacked him.
Which is always our worst fear when we ask someone to try to help us. Let's just take a brief look at what happened when you talked to him about what took place.
How did you get out?
मैं पहले चिल्लाता हूँ, लोग मुझे मारे जाते, मारते जोर का चिल्लाता हूँ तो इन लोग डर जाते, आजू बाजू कोई आ जाएगा करके, तो मैं उतने में भाग निकलता हूँ.
Okay, I mean, that's our worst fear, right? We ask someone to help us. We have a duty of care to them. He seems like he's okay now, but what do you do when you realize that's what you're up against with these people?
Well, first things first, we wanted to make sure he was okay. Our goal was always to go to India and confront the scammers, but first priority was making sure he was okay. So he is safe, he's fine. Then we decided there was still another active call center that we knew of. So we flew to India. We started scoping out the area around where we knew the call center was operating, and we quickly discovered that going in ourselves would not be possible.
Because?
Well, for a whole series of reasons, not the least of which, I stand out in India at any time, and particularly in slum areas of Mumbai, because people know each other there. They know that I don't belong, but they would also know that she doesn't belong. And so when
because it's a criminal enterprise, right? Everybody's watching everybody else's back.
And there are people watching these buildings. In fact, there are cameras watching these buildings. We thought we could get inside the building, at least get to the door before people would notice, and then get out quickly. When we arrived there, it was clear you couldn't do that. And so we had to use people who knew the area and were willing to do this, understood the risks to go in and do it on our behalf.
And what happened when you sent in a second person?
So we sent in helpers. They tried to go up, but the same thing happened. They weren't able to go through the door. They were actually chased by foot and then by motorcycle, and they had to escape themselves. And we caught up with them after the fact.
I mean, it's incredible to think that the person on the other end of the phone, as frightening as those calls are, in some levels they're benign, right? They can't really do anything to you. But when you track these people down, they are prepared to be really dangerous to protect what they're doing.
And the people who were helping us were of the belief that those who were chasing them were armed. And so this became a very serious situation. We knew that we had to get out and we couldn't go back because our safety and the safety of those working with us has to be paramount. So this is not a cowboy kind of operation. We were thinking carefully every step of the way, taking the time, making the preparations necessary.
But what does it say about our ability as journalists to get accountability? I mean, that's what we're trying to do, right? Share information, but also hold someone to account for this stuff. And it's hard enough in this country. How hard is it when you are in another country?
Well, look, we identified where they were. They shut down the operations immediately after we were there. We talked to the police about the things that we had found, but ultimately, I think it is on the police to figure this out.
Yeah, it is on the police. I mean, we can only go so far, but it's really up to them to crack down.
Are we talking Indian police or Canadian police?
I think it's the job of both, quite frankly. I mean, if you talk to the Indian police, they say they can't do it alone. You talk to the Canadian police and they say they're investigating and doing whatever they can. They really need to start talking to each other.
Because the bottom line is Canadians are getting ripped off because they're getting intimidated by these phone calls.
Thousands of them costing millions of dollars each and every year.
Thanks to you both.
Thank you.